Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I have an awesome panel of interview, and everyone here has Demon FI. So I'm gonna get everyone to introduce themselves, and I'm gonna start this actually with Ashley. So Ashley, go ahead and take this.
Okay, I'm Ashleana. I am a jumper, ENFP, FMNETE, play, consume, blast, sleep.
All right, and then next we got Alan. So Alan, go for it, man.
Yeah, hello, I'm Joe Rogan, also known as Alan. I'm a double masculine TESE, jumper ENTJ, play, consume, sleep, blast. The name's backwards, that's my motivation for today. And one other objective is I'm here to share experience, not theory.
Gotcha. There's the extrovert sensing right there. Yeah, I forgot you are Joe Rogan. That's true. Let's go with Jamie next. So Jamie, go for it.
Okay, there we go. I am a basic ISTJ, SITE, blast, sleep, play, consume, visual modality.
Gotcha. And then Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am an INTJ, fairly standard setup, not a jump or anything. NITE, blast, sleep, consume, and missing play. Masculine, feminine.
You're not pretty standard. There's not many play lasts, so you're pretty rare still.
I guess I just meant like it's not like a jumper. It's not. I don't know. I guess there isn't many of my exact type.
Yeah, I think you're the only one.
You're still cool. You're still cool.
Yeah. There you go. Next, I'm gonna go with Erin.
Hey, I'm Erin. I'm an ESFP jumper, so I am SETE, play, blast, sleep, consume, double feminine.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Erin. And last but not least, we got Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm a double feminine, TENE, play, consume, blast, sleep.
All right, thanks, Nina. Definitely blast last right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I felt it. I didn't know what to do though.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So I want to start this interview actually by just everyone sharing their FI a little bit. So just talk about some of the struggles you've had by having demon introvert feeling. I'm gonna do this in a specific order because I think the function stack still matters. So I'm gonna start with the EPs first because the FI is second, and then I'll go with the IJs and then EJs at the end. Okay. So I'm gonna get Ashley to start first actually, and just talk about her FI struggles having it as a demon, and her FI is also feminine, so that makes it even more challenging. So go for it, Ashley.
Yeah, okay. FI struggles. So first thing that comes to mind is having everybody else kind of see my FI because it's second. I can't really hide it. And just seeing like the things I'm good at and being like, hey, you should be doing this because I can see that you love it, but I can't see it. So like the difficulty of seeing self. And then of course the EP-ness is like having that like struggle to narrow down as well. I've also noticed that my TE savior likes to really like be that bouncer for my FI. So in my younger years, that looks like extreme defensiveness. If somebody touched something in my FI or said something against my FI, my TE would come out and punch them in the face, you know. ENFP is just like, we can get out there and we can just verbally attack, you know, which wasn't super healthy, but it helped, you know, in my younger years, people not say too much to me. But, you know, as you get into your, you know, relationships, like a marriage relationship, that's not super healthy. So that's something I had to work on. The other thing about FI that I have noticed is it's so frustrating, especially having it second rather than fourth. It's so frustrating because if something hits your FI, I mean, it goes deep. Like it feels like when you're in the dentist and they hit your tooth and it goes straight, like it hurts real bad. It's like that, but it's not necessarily always pain. It can be something that you just connect to in a happy sense, but it always like brings this deep feeling, which is frustrating because it's so awkward. Like FI can be so awkward. People sometimes enjoy the FI depending on what you're talking about, but you know, with it being a demon, so this is where like, okay, how does it affect you as a demon function. It being a demon, it seems like it's really hard to control like the appropriateness of when it comes out. You know, like maybe being a savior, you'd be able to kind of more authentically bring it out in a way that was a little less awkward. But for me, I'll just be in a conversation talking to somebody about something they did, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you for doing that, and like have tears in my eyes. And it's like all they did was, I don't know, something they always do every day, you know? It's so weird. So having demon FI in that way has been a struggle as well. And then also because it's introverted, I don't really want to share it all. And it seems like, especially for me as an ENFP, in order to really like build something or build like a big network, you have to be willing and able to share that FI and kind of let things fall off your shoulders when people don't agree with your FI, and just be okay with that and comfortable with yourself and confident in yourself. And that's been something that has been a real struggle, because it's like, it does give me a little anxiety to share my FI. Like I sweat and everything. It's crazy. So then there's the fact that TE wants to be really inclusive in like the idea train. So like I could talk to 10 or 15 people or 20 people about one thing, and I'm bringing in all of these thoughts and stuff. But the problem is in that process, because it's just human nature for people to, you know, share with you things outside of just their ideas. They might share their emotions or what's going on in their lives, and it's going to get beyond those ideas. Well, now if I've talked to 15 or 20 people and I've got all these people telling me their story, which can happen, right? Because I'm an ENFP. A lot of times we don't even mean to, but we draw that out in people. Now I've got 15 or 20 people's like emotional stories, and it goes deep. Like it's not FE for me. It's like, it goes deep and I'm like feeling it with them, and it's like super overwhelming. And then that's where like a social anxiety kind of thing kind of comes in, and I don't want to talk to people, and I have to go home and like, you know, turn it all off. So in a couple minutes, I hope I kind of gave you a pretty good, like rounded out, you know, explanation of some of my struggles with FI. So I would say that's the gist of it.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. I would be curious to hear if Jamie can relate to that, because you're both FM, same function stack. But before I go to Jamie, I want to go to Erin first, and then I'll go to Jamie after. So Erin, you're jumper ESFP. You also have FI second, but unlike Ashley, your FI is masculine. So there's a big difference. So I want to hear your struggles and obstacles and kind of the path, how you're trying to grow your FI at the same time. So go for it.
Yeah. So I really resonate with a lot of what I'm sorry, Rachel.
Ashley, Anna.
Ashley said,
you're consumed last. It's okay.
I know, it's so bad. No, but with my FI, you know, being second, so it's not like, you know, it's not at the bottom. It really is. It's been a slave to my TE for so long. I mean, I can see that. I can look back and easily see that, you know, TE, and my TE is feminine. And so it's just really easy for me to go along with other people and whatever makes the most sense. And so, you know, I don't really even have to use my FI or share my FI for sure, because I have that flexibility. I could just go along. The problem in that, of course, is that I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. I'm not, it's not what I want. And I pretend on the outside that that's, you know, that I hide it. And that masculine FI, I heard Dave or Shan say in a video, I think last week, that masculine FI was like the scariest function. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And when it's a demon, it's very scary. So my, I guess, solution to this, you know, demon masculine FI problem was just not to use it. And I'm 40 now, and I'm like, I realized that that's the reason that I've been unhappy, you know, my whole adult life, really, because I have just ignored it. It's too vulnerable. When I do use it, I get hurt, and that hurt is so deep that I'll put up walls around me and protect it, and I will never be that hurt again. And so that's got me going through life in a feminine TE way, go along and, you know, not being satisfied. And then when I'm not satisfied, what do I do to the people around me? You know, I'm like, what's the word, emanating that, you know, I'm not satisfied feeling to the people that are closest to me. And they don't know what's wrong and I don't know what's wrong, you know. So it's been a real painful journey, honestly, to realize like what I'm doing with my FI and how I'm hurting myself, how I'm hurting the people around me by not expressing my needs, saying what I want, you know. So yeah, it's tough.
Oh, thanks, Erin. We appreciate you sharing that. That's real good. I can relate a lot to that masculine FI struggle myself. I think Jamie's on a break, so I'm gonna go with Rachel first, actually. Yeah, I'll just go with Rachel. So Rachel, actually, your type is very interesting because you're like an INTJ, so people will think you're like an NT robot, but like actually deep down inside, you're like full of emotions. So I want to hear your experience with like, especially double activated NF sleep, right? So I want to hear about your struggles and obstacles with that FI and, you know, like those two worlds, you know, they're so different.
This will be a little hard without the time to sleep on it first. I enjoy sleeping on things for a while before talking about them, but here we go. So I resonated a lot with what Ashley was saying about not sharing her FI. So when I was a kid, especially, I rarely would talk about what I liked. And I just would say, oh, I don't know, if someone asked me what my favorite character was or something. I did secretly, sort of almost secretly, even for myself, know what my favorite things were. But I didn't want to share them. And it went a little bit along with what Erin was saying about the T going along with. I didn't want them to feel bad that I didn't like their favorite character. And then I didn't even really know, sort of. It was all, anyways, confusing for me as a child. I've gotten a lot better at knowing now. And it's for me, because I'm in sensory too, it's both have come at the same time. I've kind of partly learned to know my feelings through my physical reactions, but I realize that might be the answer to a different question. So I'll save that for later. Another problem, I can get very caught up in the
Rachel, you're freezing, I think. Is that just
even for simple things like choosing which book I want to read next? I can't feel like reading this, but I uh-oh.
Yeah, Rachel's freezing.
Everyone's frozen.
Of course, the extrovert sensing
will
come and sweep the INTJ right when she's talking.
Oh, there we go. It's back.
Yeah, the extrovert sensing was killing you right when you're talking. Of course it happened. Of course it happened when you're talking. Yeah, you could say that again, please. So
I'll say what again? Where did you stop hearing?
You're talking about like favorite books or something, and then.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was just saying I get caught up in the NITE, even for things, simple things like that I can't, well, better now, but it's hard to choose what book to read next. Just because I feel like reading this book, I have to think, oh, what would be the best book? I'm going to compare the reasons for this book and judge based off of that. And so it can make decision making a little overwhelming. It's hard to just go, yeah, I want this, do it. Like I get, and with play last especially too, I get overwhelmed easily, I think. Anything else? I can't think of anything else at the moment. I hope that's good enough for now.
Yeah, no, it's good, Rachel. Thanks. But I did notice that the extrovert sensory was trying to crash your talk there for a second. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's why I was saying, of course, it would happen to
Damn
the INTJ.
sensory.
Um, let's go with Jamie next. Jamie, I want to hear about your own struggles and journey with that feminine FI demon that you have. It's third, and you're the same sexual modalities as Ashley, so I don't know if you can relate to a lot of the stuff that she said earlier. But let's hear your own experience with that.
Yeah, no, I definitely related. Like the whole the masculine TE is such a monster, and it's always trying to protect that feminine FI. And so, like, you know, the TE is what I'm theoretically responsible for. But yeah, it's I mean, I'm also I'm in my early 40s, and still it really only now learning to really give myself permission to do the things that I want to do, to really like I do have sleep second, and so kind of, you know, doing that aspect of the sleep processing is fairly natural. But like, you're even with that, it's you know, it's still a demon function, and you don't get into the same kind of depth with the FI, even with a sleep savior, unless you put a lot of work into it. And so there's a lot of yeah, I'm figuring out what I want to do. Actually, I'm getting better about it. The reason I was on a break is I got a notification that there might be a good chance of seeing northern lights later tonight, and I went to check it, and unfortunately it looks like there's going to be too much cloud cover, but oh well.
Missed your chance to consume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go with Nina next. So Nina, you're double activated FI at the bottom, so you are going to be using it a lot, and it's kind of interesting because as an EJ, that's going to be your triggering function. So what I like about you though is you do the self-expression thing a lot. Like every time I interview you, you have a different hairstyle, for example, so that's like super cool. So can you tell me a bit about your experience with demon FI and kind of your experience and struggles with it?
Yeah, incidentally, I had sort of a revelation last night. I feel like it sounds really basic, although to be fair, as an NE who like is, my goal is to consider like every possibility under the sun all the time. So in a sense, I'm like never really surprised, but like it's still like, I don't know, something hit as a revelation. But basically, I am scared of doing my FI wrong, essentially, or rather being perceived as a failure of a person, I guess. Like I've been noticing like other people's demon stories in a comparative way, and seeing like where my partner is stuck and where my mom gets stuck and stuff like that. And you know, I get stuck on blast stuff, and I've been thinking about that for a while. But I also, a lot of where I'm stuck is I'm just afraid to express my identity, because if it's not received well, then I've failed at being me, essentially. I failed at being a person that can be of value, that people want to be around, that has worth in any conceivable way. And so because of that, hating myself is my safe place. And that's the toxic thought pattern I'm terrified to leave. That's one of the things where like I'm growth mindset in a lot of ways, and I really, really want to pursue growth for myself. But that's one where I consciously go, oh my God, the idea of not hating myself sounds so scary. Because if I don't hate myself, then I have no excuse. I just have to present myself fully to the world and hope for the best. And that's just terrifying. So that's what I've been thinking about for the past 12 hours or so.
Thanks, Nina. That's really vulnerable of you to share that. Like that's yeah. I don't know if anyone have like the courage to say what you just said. So that's thank you for that. Let's go with Alan next. Alan, you're also an EJ, feminine FI in the bottom, which is gonna be probably super hard. So let's hear yours, dude.
Okay. I'm also double activated FI, and just to share some of it, I've got some landscape. I'm actually feet in the water. It's one of my I love moving water, so this is quite calming. Well, firstly, wow, what a lot of what people said resonates, not because of the words, but it evokes experiences I've had. So whatever you said, I've got my own interpretation of it. But wow, you know, from the very start of the unwillingness to share FI through to the very last bits Nina shared, then there are definitely elements that I've had some form of experience previously, and it can be very painful, joyous as well. You know, sometimes we focus overly on the negative. But now to go to the question, potentially rant a little bit. I'll just make sure I'm off mute. Yep, cool. For me, I had to think about this last night, and so I need to break out what we're talking about so that I can focus thought and memory. And so for me, I left OPS system a long time ago. So when I think of FI, what I'm talking about is while OPS, I think back then was referring to as my values, perhaps now it's the same. I refer to FI as literally connection to heart. And what that means is the closer my experiences have been to the limits and boundaries of my FI, the stronger I feel a connection in that heart space. Typically, it's been triggered through more negative consequences than positive. And I found the essence of those triggers have actually aligned quite uncannily similar to the Enneagram instincts in order of self-preservation, followed by sexual one-on-one, and then social. So then for me, when I think of FI, it's about those things that have triggered that heart space. And even now, what Nina was saying before, folks, some very strong feelings. I mean, everyone else has said as well, but Nina took me to a place I remember quite intensely. But when I think of demon, I think that's probably more well defined by everyone here and people listening. But for me, it's the imbalance of function. So I think of it for Kendrick, who does the or maybe used to did the personal training gym workouts. I think of it having like a muscle imbalance between your left side, right side. So right now I'm working through one in the squat. I've got an imbalance on the left side, which means your hips don't fall down at the same time. And it creates an artificial, well, not an artificial, it creates an actual limitation on what volume and weight you can lift. And so it becomes your point of limiting factor, or you end up using other muscles or functions to compensate and balance. So then lastly, the third part I thought about, so FI demon, and the other part is I'm a double observer. So then the flavor of the demon FI comes out as people. So you combine those three elements together. What does that reduce down to? It reduces down to I'm the type of person, if I summarized me, it would be my demon FI, I need to experience that connection heart, that connection or the values to know that the value exists. And I have to constantly test the limits and boundaries to understand where that line is for me. As much as I can sit down and to a limited degree theoreticize about what I would do or what I'd like in certain situations, I need to experience it to validate it, or sometimes have something happen to me by external force to even be aware that, oh, wow, that bothered me, or I like it. And to share one very basic experience of the demon FI, even as a young child, I think in primary school, there's a type of exercises, which is easy for a lot of people, where you go list down the top 5 things that you like. I could never do it. I just had zero awareness. It was easier for me to come up in a household where that was explained for me. I didn't have to do that heavy lifting for myself. So I've had an awareness of the demon FI for as young as maybe 6 or 7, but I didn't understand what it meant, why it was happening. I just knew that it was there. That's me.
Oh man, that's intense. Oh geez, I can't imagine like how bad that is, like that age, not being able to list the stuff that you like. That's pretty it's pretty intense there. I also like your kinesthetic analogy there when it comes to FI. I thought like the muscle imbalance and stuff. So it's awesome that you're here being double masculine. You're able to explain things in a kinesthetic way. And Rachel maybe could understand that too. She's also audio kinesthetic, which is super true. So I think we're all imbalanced because we're not like the FI is not being used as much, in comparison to the TE. So that's very good points there. I want to open this now to questions for you guys. So I'm going to get maybe like 2 of you or 3 of you to ask the first few questions. I'm going to go with Alan first, because just before the interview started, he was being cheeky. He's like, I have some questions for you guys. So especially for Nina. So Alan, I'm going to get you to ask the first question first to everyone else about Demon FI.
Okay. Breaking news, everyone. Dave and Shan have been arrested for fraud. Turns out there's no OPS system. There's no blind test. There's been no typing results. Everything has been a lie. It's been an AI that's been matching photos to a library. What are we doing here with this conversation? What does it change for you? That's the question.
Okay, there we go.
I'm actually an ENTJ then. Sorry.
All right, who wants to grab this first? Let Ashley just go for it.
Listen. I have to have, like, I'm not SE, but because I'm NE, I will go out and gather like lots of, SE at times. So for my typing, like I've gone to several different kind of typing like quizzes. I did personality hackers. Like I always test, ENTJ because I'm NT, if that makes sense. So that's still pretty accurate. So for me, it changes nothing because this is only one data point on a line of data points that all intersect. So that's how my NE covers my butt for that kind of stuff. It's a really boring answer. Sorry about it, but that's what I got. Somebody else has probably got something more interesting.
All right. Let's hear the next person. Nina.
I think conversely, I have sort of adopted OPS as like my one system. I used to overlap and gather from a lot of points. I was into Enneagram. Obviously, I was into MBTI. But like none of it seems real to me anymore now that I've seen how real OPS seems to play out in real life. So if it turned out that it was all fake somehow, unless there was like definitive proof or reasoning that the theory wasn't true, I would still be interested in exploring the theory because it's really been helpful for me in understanding the world. And I don't know, I'm attached to it in that sense, in the way that it seems more consistent than ever before. And of course I'm looking for the objective NT. So this kind of fits in my saviors nicely. But to me, I would just hope that other people took over the work and were still invested in the theory and hopefully worked towards moving it to science for real.
Yeah, I think you would be hard to type outside of OPS, Nina, because like no one would ever think you're NT, So yeah.
I didn't think I was NT.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to answer this one next? Right. Erin, go for it.
Okay. So if I found this out today, I wouldn't be shocked because I've considered like, are they just like randomly just like giving people just whatever. That's what I thought when I got my type back. Maybe they're just randomly messing with people, and this is all a big experiment. So, I mean, I've already kind of played that out. Wouldn't be shocked. I've still learned so much, you know, and realized so much about myself that I would have never seen. So, so that's not lost, you know. So I'm not shocked, and it's not going to really change anything.
All right. I like how Alan's the one that's causing the most chaos here. He's making all the EPs look bad. Anyways.
Hold on. I gotta say, Dario Nardi, though, here's the thing. I wouldn't even care. This is like infodom here. Dario Nardi has been like just blowing up on my YouTube right now. And he is doing brain scan imaging. I mean, he has like actual SC data on the personality profiling as it relates to Myers-Briggs, but he's also talking about it in like a neuroscientific kind of way. And there's so many other things that obviously EP and Savior consume that I have consumed, that whether it's called FI or NE or whatever, it's like, it doesn't change the personality or the personal growth aspect for me, because I am realizing where my imbalances are. And if I have to relabel them, I don't really care, you know, because it's already out there. So even if they're faking it to make money, well, good on them that they were able to, you know, make as much money as that they have. But, you know, it doesn't change the fact that it's still a real thing. The way that our brains are wired is different. And there are some crossover points within like an NI sense. Sorry. The info
I just pictured them in like a bed of money. They're like, yes, all these fools. Yes. You know, they need us to tell them who they are, you know, how easy it is to make this money. Yeah. Anyways, let's go with the next person. Rachel, go for it.
Yeah, I'll go. Like Alan, I haven't actually been super involved. I still watch their YouTube videos when they come out with them, but I stopped being very involved mostly because it was too much too. I tend to hyper focus a little bit, and I couldn't focus on that and the other things I was focusing on at the same time. So if it did turn out to be a big fraud in that sense, you know, it wouldn't be so bad. But also, I very much enjoy playing around with personality systems in general, and many of them are not super objective, obviously. There's a big age gap between me and my youngest siblings, and I will still talk with my youngest siblings about the Harry Potter houses and sort people into the Harry Potter houses for fun, you know, and clearly that's not very objective. So I would still, and I found it, you know, again, with all
what's
these
your house? What's your house?
Ravenclaw.
So are you going to put us all into houses then before we get off here? Are you thinking about it?
It's already done. It's already done.
I'd have to sleep on it a bit more, and I'd probably need to talk to you guys a bit more in different contexts, but but also, like I believe Nina was saying, out of all of these systems, this is the one that most seemed to get me, I guess, and get some of the things that didn't really fit in, you know, even standard Myers-Briggs. It didn't work with me. I wasn't one of the people. Some people are just boom, they're a ENFP. That's obvious. And so I don't know, it's been useful, even if it turned out not to be all fraud and all that. It's fun. It's helped me understand myself. Yeah.
All right. And last one is Jamie.
Okay. So I have to do this, Mr. Crazy Skib, trying to flip everything upside down here. Where's the credibility of your authority that you cited here? Speaking as someone with a background in corporate compliance for Fortune 1, and also speaking as someone who has a family member who was unjustly imprisoned for over a decade. I'm going to have to say that I don't think the government is going to be a credible authority on the subject of fraud, and certainly not on objective personality. So I have to rely on my own ability to ascertain the truth. And Dave and Shan got their shit together, man. That's it.
Dang, you should have gone first.
I wanted to wait.
It takes another masculine TE to go against a masculine TE. All right, guys. Who has the next question here?
Wait. Two
All right.
things. Two things. One, where's your response, Kendrick?
My response, I 100% believe in OPS. 100%. No question asked. There's no way. When I first spoke to Rachel, and she was like the play last queen. She was in my first play last interview. And I was like, so this is what they are. This play last people. I've spoken to these people before. They don't ping back. This is it. You know, like, I mean, how do you explain this? You know, like, you know, I was like, oh, this is perfect. You know, blast last. Oh my God. Like, oh, no wonder this person doesn't speak up. Doesn't tell me, like, freaking, like, doesn't communicate. You know, like, there's a problem. Doesn't say anything. Like, you know, so I've been typed by my college and CS Joseph. I know people don't like him, but I like him, whatever. and OPS. So I got ENFP all across the board. So, and then I've always known I was manic, and like the whole play blasting kind of explained, like, oh, it's like, well, why am I so manic compared to like a lot of people? Like, why am I so manic? Like, my energy level spikes up. I overwhelm people. Like, even though it's double feminine play, I overwhelm people. I just did an interview before this, and the guy I interviewed, he's also double feminine with a tribe and double masculine inside, like I am. And like he said that when you're double masculine inside, you have to put a cage around you, because otherwise you're gonna overwhelm other people. And I was like, oh my God, that's like, I totally relate with that. Like, so I have to put like the play blast in a cage, otherwise, you know, you're gonna get overwhelmed. Anyhow, hope that satisfies your question there, Alan. And then
to be fair, this was the outcome completely did not pan out as intended.
Yeah, I know you're just messing around, whatever.
No. I'll explain why in a second, because I wanted to share, please. Firstly, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but just the double deciders focusing on the outcome of this was quite interesting for me. The actual reason I asked this question was about Demon FI. So for memory, OPS define FI as identity, right? So there's layers of identity that have been formed through this OPS system. So the intent, the nature, the essence of the question was, the intention was, well, you've built up an identity on these terms. Now the terms are void, regardless of corporate governance or not. They're void. What does that mean for you and your ability to express yourself? What happens with this identity now gone? That was externally defined, not necessarily internally. That was the point of the question. I'm not sure if that hit, or maybe it went over my head.
Maybe blast better, Alan. You know, explain better. You know, so. Anyways, no, it's good. I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, obviously everyone's here is like there's a lot of double deciders here, so we cannot not talk about the system as opposed to like the actual identity that could have been, you know, misconstrued because like a label was given to us, right? So
I struggle with that question also, because I would argue that you would attach your identity to something else. There's no way not to have your identity wrapped up in something, period.
So again, you know, that's why the answers, because this is double decider dominant group, I naturally or intuitively look at it more, what you just said wouldn't happen. So I've realized I've actually asked quite a self-motivated FIS view. It was just fascinating to highlight the differences. And to be honest, a lot of times I've left these forum groups and whatnot is because I find a lot of people do speak in those terms where they really identify themselves as ABC or using XYZ. So I don't know. Maybe now that you've heard this, maybe look out for it. You might see it a lot more.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the reasons I see that from my perspective, my personality is not my identity.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. If I could choose something else, I would. Trust me.
Are you kidding me? Did you just hear yourself a second ago? That was awesome. I was like, dang, I wish I could be an SI right now.
I have good moments, but man, they're like, it's that one like, all right, I see my chance. I got this one now.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing about that. I think for me, at least, I've struggled with having a very clear sense of identity. And even with OPS, it still didn't give me a hugely strong sense of identity. And it would be very difficult for me to tie myself, to form such a strong identity based on something like this that I wouldn't be able to handle well if it turned out to be a fraud or something.
I think it was worse, I think earlier on in the early days, like when people might have been mistyped because they're not as good yet. Like they're a lot better now, but like imagine someone gave you like a mistype and you're like basing your growth on this, and then you've been like working on the wrong thing the whole time. So yeah, that can be dangerous, you know. So that's where the danger I see when it comes to this. That's why it's like knowing yourself without the type first is super important. Yeah, Alan, you want to say something?
Yeah, and that was the basis as well, the secondary basis of the question, because, and I suppose it's more relevant for me is if I last. So it's theoretically even more of a challenge, but in my experience, the reason why for my answer for this question is I wouldn't care is because I've reached my own conclusion on cognitive processing that I've I guess closed loop validated through my own experience. I actually agree with the typing, not necessarily of cognitive functions. I'm not saying I'm not TESA. What I'm saying is cognitive functions I don't value very much. I very much value animals or their a sequential operation of processes. And what I can say is I very confident blast last. In fact, and I will sleep before blast. I know that because I struggle to share any type of information without having processing it in the headspace first. Quite often I'll be about to say something. I'll stop halfway through because I've already finished the sentence in my head. I've realized it's wrong or new information has come in, which means consume before sleep. So I'm already consume, sleep, blast. Where's play? I know I'm play because of how energized I get by poking people that and as I've gotten older, I've much more subdued the play. But to be fair, this is one of the first times in a long time I felt energized by play. And I think it's because we're talking about a topic that I'm interested in. So the FI is connected, which, you know, allows me to enjoy the play, but also because I've actually had to think about this conversation before we've joined it. I'm not processing the NF, double F in the moment. You know, that's the other part where when I've done these interviews, I talk and I'm saying nothing because the FF is just processing. Anyways, that's my answer. I'll move on.
All right. Let's go with the next question, guys. Does anyone want to ask the next question? Otherwise, I will pick someone. Let's see. Nina. Okay, the EJs get to ask the questions first. So ESTJ Nina, jumper, go for it.
I've got arguably a less intense one. So it's about things like, okay, it's about hearing what others think of you, essentially. So like, basically me and my other, if they're not an EJ, I'll shit a brick friend have in common is like, we both really like hearing what other people think of us. So like, in those like tag yourself memes, or like the like what's my vibe, pick a shoe, a drink, and a character from Animal Crossing or whatever, like those types of things, we're like, oh my god, do me, and like I'll do you too, I promise. And like, and we love taking quizzes, like personality quizzes. That's why we're so invested in typology, and we're constantly thirsty for that feedback. But I remember one time I was watching some OPS video and Shan said something that was basically the opposite, like, or at least it read to me as the opposite. It was something to the effect of like, I don't like talking about myself. And it's like, I don't know, my friend and I suspect we're both skibs. I think they might be FE, but like we both have that consume, and we're just like so hungry for more for our identity, that like I guess that we trust because it's coming from the outside. And so I was surprised that someone who's so close to my type would not relate to that. So my question is basically, do you guys relate to that? Do you love identifying with stuff and hearing what other people think of you, or do you have a resistance to people telling you, like, to putting you in a category or whatever?
But that have to do more with the animals, or not, sorry, modalities, because I'm thinking like masculine TE, which I also have, and Shan also has. Like masculine TE doesn't want the attention, because then there's the risk of the FI being exposed, and it's feminine and it's very vulnerable. And so it's like, no, don't compliment me, because then you might ask me about my FI, or like why I did this or why I like it, and I don't want to go there. I wonder if it has to do with that a little bit more. Thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I have tried to get better about handling compliments. And it's literally like my FI is not any better. It's literally just me controlling my language and my body language. That's it. I'm horribly uncomfortable with them. I do, but the crazy thing is, like, I want the feedback. So, like, you know, on the one hand, I want the feedback. I want to know that I'm doing a good job, but I don't want the chemicals. So, like, no chemicals. Just can you like give me a list of what was good and bad, and I'll like go in a corner and read it over there.
Yeah.
And then zip my, can I like sew my mouth shut so I don't feel like I have to talk about it? That would be awesome.
And Nina, is like, this person you're doing that with is probably in your FI, right? Like, would you want the opinion of people that weren't in your FI? Like, would that be more scary to you?
It's hard to say, because I kind of have to group it into tribes to say, like if they were someone who generally aligned with my political views and that type of thing, then I would I would just accept the opinion of any stranger, and I would be interested, even if I didn't agree with it or believe it. I would want to take it into account. If it was someone...
is another word for tribes and people you respect?
I don't know.
Or FI align with?
I think it's more FI align with. Yeah, I think it's more FI align with.
And I think you're kind of not necessarily talking about attention. Like, I'm just kind of trying to break down what she said and what you're saying. To me, it sounds like you're saying like you like getting feedback on how people perceive you from especially like maybe a personality standpoint, because you want to learn more about yourself and your identity. I feel like Shan was talking more about attention for doing the TE. Because it's like the TE, you're just doing, like, you just do it because you're kind of addicted to it. But also a lot of times we're doing TE because it's connected to our FI, not always, but but we don't want attention for it, because like, I know I did that thing, just like leave it alone. I'm probably going to do it again. Like, don't necessarily, I think it's like slightly different. There's a little more nuance there, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe.
It could also be the feminine masculine thing you brought up, because I have feminine TE, and I do want the feedback a whole lot. I don't know, that could be an animal thing too, but now I don't want to have a compliment or have anyone watch me get a compliment or have any of the chemicals that come with that or be seen, like the zip up thing. Yeah, zip me up and let me read the comments, you know. But yeah, I definitely want the feedback, like a lot. Yeah.
See, I want the compliments. I just don't want to have to be seen while I am accepting and processing them, because I desperately need validation, but I'm going to be awkward about it because like, I mean, I don't deserve it, so I have to process it in private.
Whenever there are times when I want to post things like that on Facebook and stuff, and I get nervous about it because on the one hand, like, I want the tribe to tell me who I am. Like, that's their job, right? And it's not my job to figure out who I am. And so, like, you know, I like these little things, but at the same time, like, I am terrified to post them because I'm like, well, partly because I know that there's a chance that my MTE is going to come out and like beat somebody over the head because they said they told me I was something I didn't want to be. But yeah, no, it like it. I think if I'm understanding you right, I think part of it is just that whole thing where you don't feel like, I don't feel responsible for deciding who I am. I feel like, you know, I catch myself doing this all the time where I'm like, tell me who I am, tell me what we are, what is this, what am I supposed to do, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? And then, like, you know, if you actually listen and you do the stuff that they say, then you get mad because you're not doing what you really want to do anyway. So
I relate to a lot of what you said, and I think of my daughter. She's 6, and I'm quite confident at this point she's a non-jumping ENTJ, so demon last FI. And you know what you said about you want the compliment, but don't. Yeah, I see it with her too. I'll give her, or she'll receive a compliment, and she'll try and hold a straight face, and then suddenly she'll just break down into a giggling fit. Yeah, it's that type of tension. Nina, I've heard a few people say if they understand you right, and I must say I've been sitting in the same space. I'm not sure I've understood the intent of your question. Could you try reframing it for me, please?
I don't know. No, I'm sorry, I have no idea. Could you?
I think originally, weren't you just asking about, you were saying with Shan, she was talking about how the TE doesn't want the attention, and you're saying you don't mind the attention as far as feedback. Are you specifically talking about feedback? Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, define feedback, because I'm talking about, like, you know, NF type of feedback.
Okay.
Is a lot of what I'm describing, but it would
NF
also
feedback.
Not exclusively though necessarily. Okay. I don't know. I haven't narrowed this down enough. I was just like, oh, thank God I found something I'm wondering about, and I didn't think beyond the initial question.
Do you want to play through the question and see if we can refine it down? Would you like to do that, or okay?
I mean, I'm down as long as everyone else is.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what kind of prompted you to think about this question in the first place? What triggered it?
It was watching the video where I don't remember what the exact wording was, or even what the full context was now, but I remember it at the time. I understood it as being similar enough to, you know, the type of feedback I'm describing.
Yeah, so the data of the video, I don't think actually matters that much. Tell us about how that video made you feel, because in the end, it's made you feel something that you wanted to ask a question about it. Do you remember that experience?
I don't know if it's so much about the feeling as it is about the curiosity. I'm just wondering what the difference is there. I'm just trying to puzzle it out.
So guys, I think your N and SE are talking past each other.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, because like Nina, you're ST last and Alan's ST first. So there's the you guys are yeah, going past each other. But one thing that I did pick up earlier when you were asking that question, Nina, was like you're trying to get people to give you feedback. So I think you were asking something about the feedback thing.
That's kind of what I'm picking up too.
Yeah, like like you were talking about like, yeah, you like the feedback, but you also don't want to show people that you like it. So you do it behind the closed doors.
Not even necessarily like I want to hide that I appreciate it, just that it's like it's hard to accept it as like acknowledge it as in to say, yes, I accept that I did this thing well.
I think you're saying exactly what Shan was saying now. So now you're kind of like more in line. That's kind of what she was talking about, is what you just said right there. It's not that, so EJs need, right, validation. That's their human need. They need that validation, external validation. So it makes sense that you're like, yeah, I totally want that. But then what you just said is I don't want to do it in front of everybody. I don't want people to see how I'm feeling about it, but I need it. So, and that's, she does say that too in other videos and different contexts. So
do you like psychically know which video I'm talking about, or
I just have watched it? Yeah, I know exactly what video you're talking about because I felt the exact same way.
Okay.
But I was more on the other side where I was like, oh yeah, I had to learn to be more humble, because I think it was like a false humility for me. I'm not saying that's for anyone else, but for me, it was like a false humility, I guess, to say, oh no, don't give me the credit. It was this person. It was that person. It's like, no, knock it off. Yes, you did contribute to that. Just say thank you, feel uncomfortable, and move on.
Right. Yeah. That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they said also before, like as an EJ, like you want the compliment, but then when someone gives it to you, you deflect it. And then suddenly you're like on a fit that no one's being nice to you, but then it's really your fault because like people complimented you a lot, but you just deflected it, So you're the messed up person here, that like you probably, if you really look back at the sensory, you probably got tons of compliments, people telling you did a great job or you're a good person, blah, blah, blah. But then nope, you remember none of it. You only remember the bad stuff, because EJs, you only consume or gather the negativity, which is kind of weird. So
you have a tendency.
Yes, tendency is the right word. Exactly.
However, it sounds like you're trying to gather the good. Like, are you specifically paying attention to the good feedback?
Yeah. I mean, I'm paying attention.
And you're doing awesome. God, I cannot help but DE. Damn it.
Oh, thank you. I need it.
But no, it's true. You are. Good on you, Nina.
All right. I think Rachel didn't say anything yet, so we'll go.
Yeah,
Rachel.
I haven't said anything. I thought I sort of knew what your question was, but then when other people didn't know, now I'm all confused and I don't know if I'm going to answer it right. But anyway, I love hearing other people's thoughts on me, but just if I feel like it's accurate and they're actually seeing me. And I don't really care if it's positive or negative necessarily, as long as it seems like they're actually paying attention to me, actually seeing me, and not just, because there's been a lot of people, there seems to be a bit of pattern in my life of people assuming they know me and giving me very firm advice based on that and telling me what I am. And when I was younger, I didn't have the tools to realize that just because they were very sure of themselves, it didn't mean they were right. So now I still appreciate people telling me what they think, but it has to be, I have to, I guess, trust them in some sense, but it's not exactly a tribe thing. Like, they don't have to be close to me. They just have to somehow make it seem like they're actually paying attention.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just want to add one last thing before we move on to the next question. Like a few years ago, I actually got a bunch of my friends to give me feedback on my strengths and weaknesses. And then I got a bunch of different comments, which I thought was pretty funny. Like one of my friends, he's an ISFJ. The first thing he said to me is like, "Are you okay, man? Are you going through some kind of crisis?" I'm like, no. I'm actually, I just want to get feedback. Like, I'm not going through some kind of like crisis or anything. And then when the feedbacks came to me, like I told them, tell me my top 5 strengths and my top 5 weakness. And then I was looking through it. The first thing I had to look at carefully though was like, is the strengths, is the weakness that they're trying to tell me is because they want me to, because it benefits them as opposed to benefiting me. So I think that was the first thing that came to my mind, because like when I was reading through it, so that's kind of like how I was filtering it. And I also noticed that the strengths that they said to me, which is pretty much a compliment, I only took it in if it was already in my core values, like your FI core values. So if it was already in my core values and like they acknowledge that, then I felt good. But if it was outside that, then I'm kind of scratching my head, or it doesn't come in. So
yeah, I was gonna. Sorry. I was gonna say I have that, like with the compliments. Everyone talking about compliments. I'm pretty indifferent to compliments most of the time. Like it doesn't really matter one way or another. But I think what you were saying, if it's part of my core value already of who I am, then I'm happy and I feel seen and all that.
Right.
And if it's not, then it's just like, what is this?
You're right. Exactly. Yeah, you got it. All right. Let's move on to the next question.
Alan? Sorry, mate. I didn't. I asked some questions to clarify, but I didn't actually say anything. Yeah, I should say something as the EJ to an EJ. What Kendrick said about what David Shan said, spot on. I found, at least in my experience. I have a feeling what I say won't necessarily hit home, because I do feel we were talking differently over each other, whatever. But I've felt, or at least my experience has indicated, there's a lot to reap benefit from if you spend time and effort to validate yourself first and foremost before indirectly seeking or directly seeking confirmation, approval, acceptance, whatever it is, from other people. First, be comfortable with that criteria yourself. Now, your FI. Okay, so that might still hold true, but I'd say focus on that. I remember one example, maybe about 3 years ago. I started a new job, and my boss, I'm actually pretty sure, was a TENE. And like a couple of days in, came up to me and goes, how do you think you're going? And I said, I think I'm going fucking good. Well, not that, but I mean, along those lines. But I'm not really summarizing the what happened properly, but the intent was I didn't need his approval for myself to know whether I was doing what was right. And I remember paying attention to his reaction. Now, this might all fall out the water if OPS is a fake system and he's not a TNE, whatever. But what I'm trying to bring home in the end is you got to focus on establishing that validation for yourself first. That's all.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Let's go to the next question. So I think I'm going to pass it to Rachel for the next question. So Rachel, if you please, what's your question about Demon FI to everyone?
Okay, so when I had my personality typing video, one of the ways Dave and Shannon decided that I was Demon FI is because when I got to talking about things that I liked, my energy got all weird and I was all kind of like, and so I kind of wanted to hear you guys talking about something you love for a bit and just be interested in seeing how you do with that.
Oh, no questions? Okay. We'll...
It is a question, sort of. It's, what is something you love?
Oh,
tell me about
okay.
it.
I see. Okay, got it. All right. Jamie, you already unmuted, so let's hear you say.
First, I want to say we are really similar, because I was going to ask a very similar question to this. So,
yeah, you guys look so similar too. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I think I'm curious. I have a crossbite, and I think you also have one. So anyway, anyway, yeah. Things it's something I like. God, I hate this stuff. And I was so excited about being the jerk that was going to be wanted to ask this question. Okay, so there are two things in my house that I'm really into. They're not the only things I like, but they're the things I deal with pretty much every day. I've got two cats who are, by some miracle, taking a nap through all of this because they have caused all kinds of chaos for pretty much every other panel I've been on. And then I've got like 10 orchids, which I like them because they're pretty, but I had to come up with all of these other TE reasons that I think they're super special. They survived an extinction event and they have like, like very hardcore. And, but yeah, no, I like them because they're pretty, and I managed not to kill them, which is awesome. So there you go.
I like how it's very SI also. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, actually, like physical
I
object.
can't put the SI down. Like, no.
Yeah, no, of course not. Maybe Aaron can go next for this question.
This is the worst question.
Yeah, I threw you under the bus there.
Like, you did, but not as bad as the question asker. And then Jamie, you totally did it when you talked about your orchids, and now I don't want to do that. And the only thing I can think about that I like is my boyfriend, and I can't talk about him, so
Why not?
I like him too much. It's an FI thing, and it's a vulnerable thing, and it's like I don't know. I feel like a dog that's gonna hide a bone or something.
What's one cool thing about him?
What's that?
What's one cool thing about him?
He has red hair. I don't know.
Is he an ENFP or something? Just kidding.
I think he's an lead TI. I think he's
Okay.
an ISTJ.
Yeah.
Because we're both demon feelers is what I know. And man, that's a struggle.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the ESTJs have red hair also, right? Like Ed Sheeran or whatever.
Yeah, yes. And I he looks like Opie. He looks like Ron Howard, which I think is like a DI thing. So I think he's that type of I can't talk about this. You tricked me.
yeah, no worries. Yeah. I mean, nice. Damn, almost got you. But anyways, let's go with Ashley next.
Okay. I didn't even share my video. You know how like people like share their video on the site or whatever, on the unofficial page. I did not share mine, and I wouldn't share it with anyone because I was like bawling in my video because I was processing in the moment because I'm, play savior. And I was talking about my husband, and I like realized I was like, oh my gosh, like all of my best moments were with my husband. And like literally for the rest of the video, just like tears streaming down my face, just not even talking about him anymore. And until I got to like how I feel about like politics and how stupid people are in politics, then I was able to like pull it together. So that was good. That was distracting for me. I got to talk about the things, but something I really enjoy, and like just I guess like a vulnerable thing here, like we were talking about, Nina pointed out the FI and how it's like scary because it's like you feel like you can screw up being yourself, and that is so real for me. And one thing that I know I want to do and that I am doing, but that's like really uncomfortable, is homeschooling my kids and only working part-time. And I am like very slowly working on something for me, like the FI for me, what I want to do, sometime down the road. But it's so uncomfortable because the tribe has told me like many a times, like, oh my gosh, you would be amazing running your own business. You'd be amazing. Like anything that people can volunteer me to run, because even though my SI is at the bottom, I can do it because Blast is third. And because I'm a mom and I homeschool and I've had to like learn how to do the SI, like I can manage and do the schedule things and whatever. And so one thing that's like really hard is realizing that like what my FI wants is to be a mom that is homeschooling and pouring into her kids so that they can build character, so that they can be free thinkers, so that they feel like I was there for them. That's hard because I know that I could do more and I know I could be making more money and I know I could take that burden off of my husband. And if I would just put my kids in school, and I just had a rehearsal the other day, and I had one of those days where it was back to back from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. I had a rehearsal for worship team, and they were like, hey, it kind of looks like you've had a long day. And I was like, yeah, these are like, 3 things I'm dealing with right now. And she meant super well, but the gal was like, there's like a school you can put your kids in. Right. And I wasn't like hurt necessarily, but it's kind of where like in my FI, I'm just going, yeah, I know I could put them in school and I could be this rock star salesperson because I freaking rock at sales and I love sales and I love people and I love getting that rush and that high. But I am literally like, and not in a DE way. This is not my TE, you guys. This is my FI. Like I am laying it all out for my kids because I want to invest in them because I know I can go out and be a rock star when I'm done raising my babies. So that's something that I love, which is my kids and my homeschooling. That's my FI that I don't feel allowed to do, but I'm doing it anyway. Sorry.
I like that answer, Ashley, because I resonate with how you feel, especially when like someone like questions why you're like your FI, like why you decided to do something, and it's like super important to you, and then like they kind of tell you like your FI is like wrong, and I'm like, why don't you shut the fuck up, like that's kind of like, what I was thinking, because like I took a year off to go backpacking before, and I had a friend's like, oh, why are you doing this? Why don't you go home? And I'm like stunned, right? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You have no life. Look at you, you're a loser. You proposed to 3 different women, and 2 of them stole your ring. Like you're the loser here, like that's kind of like the stuff that was going to my head, like, so yeah, the FI is vicious when it comes out. So yeah, I totally relate to what you said there. So
and like I said, this person like loved this person so much, and she would have no idea. She would have no idea because again, like, am I sharing that? Am I going out and telling my friends, here's my FI, and I know I could do all these things, but I'm doing it for this? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not telling people that. I just said, no, my kid. This is what I said. My kids really love it. That's what I said. I couldn't even fess up that I'm the one that loves it. No, they do too. Don't get me wrong. They've never asked to go to school. And when I've offered, they've been like, nah. But I couldn't even say that.
Yeah. I can relate to that too. That's hard, eh? You can't really say how you really feel. Nina, you got something to say about this? About your likes and dislikes? I mean, Rachel was asking about the likes thing. We're not like we just went on an FI rant, obviously, but
no. I don't want to. Don't make me.
Okay. Why don't we go to Alan first? Alan, you got anything?
Well, the question, as soon as I heard it, stopped me in my tracks. I felt a sense of dread, and ironically, that's part of what I love. So before I go into that, it's a ridiculously hard question for me to answer because, well, I mean, the bullshit I'm about to say, to make myself feel better about it, is I've got very few things that I could say I enjoy all the time. I suppose that's some sort of wired-in assumption of what it means to love something. Everything's got some sort of push-pull tension regularly or on-off period. So it's, I don't know. I go through this process of like I get like personal time twice a week. I've got 2 young kids. We've got family time, couple time. My personal time's twice a week, and quite often I don't know what the hell I'm going to do for it, even though I demand it and I look forward to it. I don't know what I'm going to do because it's so mood dependent. There's nothing I consistently love doing. I know what I enjoy doing. I just don't know what I'm going to enjoy at that time. That's I guess to the threshold I've been able to develop that FI awareness. What I could say I consistently enjoy finding myself exposed to, but I don't know how to create on demand, is these type of moments where you get to test an assumption or a theory about how I may process this something, and then to actually live through that and see the other end. Yeah, I really enjoy those moments. That's what I would say. And it's part of why I'm here in nature with water, calm water. I love those moments.
I think for EJs, it's the FI is super narrow because it's right at the very bottom. So it's super hard to define, especially with feminine FI.
I can tell you everything I don't like. Yeah. I know that, but what I do, I don't know. I like, obviously I love my kids. I die for them, but there's also like moments where I want nothing more than to be apart from them, and that's natural. Like, I don't beat myself up about that, but like, for me, I've got like I said, a built-in logic block that when I think about when someone answers this question, it's about what am I so passionate about for, and I realize, I know that I'm thinking about a romanticized ideal that doesn't have to hold true, and I think that's part of that progression of becoming more and more mature about the FI and living in the grey instead of black and white. But yeah, I just haven't come across something that I aside from family, as in direct family, definitely not indirect. I haven't found something that I've been so passionate about that I must do. I get very intense about hobbies for a period of time, reach some sort of level of proficiency mastery quite quickly, and then I get bored, move on. That's that play consume cycle. I'm very aware of it.
Right. You're super EP, so the next shiny thing is always more appealing. Let's go with the next. Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, go for it.
I haven't answered my own question yet.
Yeah, go for it.
Which I also don't really want to, but I think I should. The easy answer is, of course, my partner, and that's who I was actually talking about in the OP video that I gave them. And even though that's sort of the obvious answer, it's still a little bit hard to say. Anyway, he's awesome, an awesome person. And I really love books and characters and books and things, fiction. And I used to have about 700 books, but I've been sorting through them and discarding some, and so I don't have that many anymore. But yeah.
There's something suspicious when an INTJ say they love books. There's just like like, I have 700 books. I'm like that's so, there's something suspicious about that. But anyways,
suspicious? You mean I shouldn't like them, or that's the obvious?
No, like, you know, like a lot of like INTJs, they say I read a lot. It's all about learning, you know. It's like,
right.
Are you sure? You're
right. Like I know the guy they always bring up. What's his name? And he, and he always talks about reading a book every day or something. Okay, well I do. Well, not anymore, not most recently, because I haven't read as much. But when I was younger, I legitimately read very much. But it's fiction. I think it's different. Like, it's easier to, I wasn't reading these hardcore, I don't know, nonfiction books.
Yeah, I mean, you consume SF, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I the SF consume. Exactly.
Right.
I know it's suspicious, but anyway, I love it anyway. So there, even if I'm somehow peacocking here, the fact is my FI is attached to it, and that's the important bit. So
okay, that's true. Yeah, fair enough. Let's go with that Jamie next for the question.
Okay, so I'm curious what everyone here is actually doing to work on shoring up that poor baby FI.
Like how people are.
I mean, if the answer is nothing, that's okay. But
expressing it or talking about their feelings. So like, what's the?
Yeah, what are you doing to develop it, to nurture it?
All right. So who wants to grab this first? Nina, go for it.
I've got a pretty short answer. In connection to what I was talking about earlier with the whole like hating myself is my safe place. I need to find, I don't know how to do this yet, but I need to find a way to value myself even when there's nothing I can rationalize into being of value, even if it's like an NF type thing, like even if it's like, oh, I like this one quality or like this vibe or something, like I can't always do that, and so I feel like I'm just not always worthy of being a person, so I have to figure out some way to not attach worth to, I don't know, anything. I don't know how I'm gonna go about doing that, but that's what I've got to do.
I do want to say something real quick, Nina.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent no short amount of time hating myself. And there's one thing that somebody said to me that finally kind of clicked with me, and maybe it'll click with you. You can't hate yourself into becoming the kind of person you want to be.
Shit,
I think
dude.
you're pretty, yeah. Anyway, I think you're cool. And I know I can't fill up your bucket. You got to do that yourself, but I like you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nina, are these thoughts that you have, consistently, regularly, or is it it's the kind of come and go? Like, do you get worse and then it gets better? And it's like these I've had, similar thoughts. So I'm just wondering if it's like coming and going or if it's just staying.
It's always in the background if I'm not thinking about it. It's kind of inherent to my state of being. I have had, I guess I have small fluctuations in confidence throughout the day, but it always comes back to the default state.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do too. So I see myself getting like in that self-hating spiral of I'm not worthy to the outside world, and I don't really know how to stop it or get out of it, but I'm sorry. I experience that. It's bad, and it's just like a wave, and it just kind of comes and goes.
I'm very sorry that you experienced that. Fucking sucks.
All right. Anyone next? Rachel.
I brought it up very briefly at the beginning, but I find that mindfulness meditation has helped me a lot with my FI in a sort of linking it to the sensory kind of way, because I wasn't fully sure. I didn't notice myself feeling things a lot of the time, and that has helped me notice my feelings. And once I notice them, I can actually do something about them, or, work with them. They're there at least when they weren't before.
I think our core beliefs are really important about who we are, who we believe others are, what we believe about what's going to happen when we die, etc. And this is like so hard for me to like share. I get so uncomfortable. I'm sweating, but I'm just like, for me, like, it's my faith in Christ, and everybody has their own core value system. Doesn't have to be mine, but something that has really drawn me to being a Christian. I'm not really denominational necessarily. I just love the Lord. I love Jesus, and I love his message, and that everybody has worth. Like, the idea of, you know, the creator coming down and dying for us so that we would know how loved we are, and that we are all worthy of love, no matter what we've done, that we have an opportunity to be forgiven, that we have an opportunity to grow and choose growth, and to choose to love ourselves because we are already loved by a creator, you know? And that doesn't mean that I'm like never like hating on myself, but I really truly believe that message. And I truly believe that every person here and just every human has worth and value, and that they are here and they have gifts to bring to the world. That's another thing I love about personality profiling is like, yeah, okay, we all kind of make fun of ourselves because we have this, you know, blast last, consume last, sleep last, whatever. But everybody brings gifts in like this beautiful diversity, you know, psychologically and everything else that we can all work together, right? I'm like TE savior all here, but we can all work together and just make something super beautiful. And you're a part of that. And everyone here is a part of that. And so, you know, again, it's like, well, what have I put into my identity box? And I've put Christ, I put his message, I put the message of scripture of the Bible into my heart, because that is like the best message I can find. Like, I can't work my way into heaven because I'm never going to not make a mistake, but I have the opportunity to become like 1% better, right? Like Atomic Habits, 1% better every day, by not just loving others, because that's where the DE comes in. We're like, we love others, but by loving myself too. Because if I can love myself because I've already been loved by my creator, then I can go out and better love the people around me. And that's how I have packaged that, and what I've clung to, and I will cling to till my dying day.
Alan?
Okay, I'm off mute. I couldn't reach the thumb. So the question was, how do you work on your FI? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. I look at it as in two parts. So there is the TA, and then there's the FI. For the TA, I've spent a lot of energy to focus on how do I say? There's been a lot of attention given to treating everyone as equal. So what that means is, I said before, you know, I love my wife, kids, I'd die for them. That means everyone else is not equal. I'm not at a point where I'll die for everyone else. No offense, but it's about being aware that when people put you in a sticky situation, that quite often it's not malicious. That's the first thing. People have good intentions at heart, and a lot of times things that eventuate aren't sinister in nature. That was an important cue for me, especially as an EJ. So that's the T element, really downplaying the importance of others. And then the FI element, the compensation there. Years ago, the way that I started developing that was through daily journaling, writing down thoughts. I became more and more comfortable each day to explore greater depths. what I don't do it anymore. Big reason for that is I developed to the point where I could journal on cue or demand. I didn't need to put myself in a mindset or have, calming music or whatever. I could just sit down and do. But I found a lot of what I was journaling about were repetitive thoughts. And that was an awareness eureka moment for me. And at the point where I decided to give up a lot of that stuff and actually focus more on experiencing instead of living in the internal mindset. And so instead of writing about what I'd like to do with my FI, I try and put myself in situations where I get to live it. And that's part of doing things like this today. And I've got a lot of enjoyment and discomfort from it, and that's what I was looking for. So that's been great. It's over the past year and a half, there's been a lot of life changes, and I've made conscious decisions to put the FI on the back burner. And everything comes at a sacrifice. As I feel, as long as the decision is conscious and made with boundaries that are set, then I can live with that sacrifice. So I'm intentionally sacrificing some FI at the moment, and I'm okay with that. I think where it becomes a bigger risk and part of that growth or opportunities for growth is if you're living unconsciously through that. That's my answer.
I think just to answer that question, for me, it's a little bit different. I think expressing emotion is something that I wanted to work on the most, kind of like verbalizing what I feel. And so like with my relationship with my girlfriend or coworkers and whatnot, so if I'm upset, then I try to find the word right away for why I'm upset, and then I'll verbalize right away, like, I didn't feel good when you said that, so I'll say things like that, and for some reason, when like the moment you verbalize it, it kind of changes the dynamics of the conversation, so I don't know. It's just like when people feel like they've offended you and you verbalize it, suddenly it's like, oh my God, this is like so bad, so it's, I don't know. I think there's some power to verbalizing exactly how you feel, and that's what I've been working on. And it's really weird at first because obviously the FI is personal, right? Like your feelings are personal. It's like, why would you want to bring that out? But then I think the more I did it, it's kind of like in Brene Brown, her book, she said that like when you're trying to hide something, like a negative feeling or something, it festers. She calls it gremlins and stuff. But like when you shine a light on it and then you just say it out loud, then it can't survive, right? Like that negative feeling. So I think that's what I'm trying to do. It's like trying to like make sure like my closet, it's not dark, it's like light. And any gremlin that's hiding there, I'm gonna shine a light to it, and I'll just show people. And people might be thinking, especially the TIs, who are like, you can't be showing your weaknesses to people. I'm like, it's a weakness if I don't show it to people. Like I gotta shine the light to it. I'll tell you my insecurities. I'll just say it upfront. I'm not gonna hide it. If it makes me look bad, I don't care. I feel better inside. So even if my outer world gets destroyed and I look worse, I don't care. Because inside I feel at peace. So I think that's the way I see it. So let's move on to that question next. Erin, you get the next, and then Ashley, and then everyone's asked their questions. So I don't know where Jamie went, but yeah, go for it, Erin.
Am I answering this question?
You can answer
the question.
You can do both if you want.
Well, what did you say though?
Oh, I was getting you to ask a question, but if you want to answer a question too, answer a question first and then ask the question.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't need to answer the question. You gave a brilliant answer, and it just made me think, God, it's that masculine demon. I think the masculine versus the feminine demon FI is really, I think there's more similarities, in masculine FI.
Yeah.
And then separately in demon FI, feminine FI than just demon altogether. But anyway, I do have a question that I really want to hear. everybody answer. So what I would want to know, and I wrote it down so I don't have to say it wrong. Okay, tell me about a time that you ignored or went against your FI and it ended in unexpected disaster, when you thought it was the right thing to do, you know, and it ended in a disaster that you did not expect.
Can you say that again?
Yes. Tell me about a time that you ignored your FI.
Yeah.
Maybe for the sake of TE, whatever. Okay. And it ended in unexpected disaster.
Okay.
Like a tidal wave crash, whatever, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll just quickly answer it before someone else answered. Okay. So for me, every time I ignore my FI, it's not actually the emotional thing that gets me, because I do have FI second. It's my sleep last that kills me. So I think Ashley's probably the same, you know, when she was telling her stories about like, what is it, the 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. day. So it's like, yeah, it's usually for me, it's the sleep last. And I'm like, I'm gonna die early if I don't stop doing this TEBS, you know. So it's not it's not so emotional, because I feel like since I discovered Brene Brown and like putting the light on the gremlin thing, it's not been a big, like, emotional thing's not been the biggest problem. It's more like my health issues. But yeah, so let's go with the next. Let's go with I want a decider to answer this first, actually. Nina, can we go with you first? You're muted.
Sorry. I haven't thought of anything yet.
Oh, okay. Alan, you want to jump in with this question?
Sure. I mean, when I think of defining moments in life, I don't have anything in that vein. I've had lots of times I've ignored FI, but nothing that's led to what I'd classify as a disaster. The unwelcome situations, but you do something about it and you move forward. On a smaller scale, very recently, as in about 3 weeks ago, I was at the gym. I was fatigued. I didn't want to be there. But I was getting close to a PR effort on deadlift, which has a potential to irritate discs in the back. Instead of listening to my body and how my philosophy behind training these days, or what I'm branding as FI, I decided to push for the PR and actually got a disc injury. So I've been injured for the past 3 weeks. That was a pretty shit situation. It's not the first time that's happened, unfortunately. I haven't learnt my lesson. But that's probably the closest I can think of. But I don't look at it as a disaster either. It's just an adjustment that's needed. So. Next.
I guess you forgot your NIFI pattern, like your recurring pattern of getting injured, you know? Like,
well, look, unfortunately for me, it happened on the last set, last rep. So like everything was good. I mean, if I didn't feel like, anyways, doesn't matter. Move on.
Like the last doesn't want to talk. Anyways, does anyone want to go next with this one? Jamie?
Let me see. Did I mute myself? No, I'm good. Okay. So there've been so many. Which one to choose? I don't like talking about these because the ones that really stick with me are pretty depressing. Okay, so I'll talk about 2 of them. One, because you did specify one where there was an actual disaster. So there was one where there wasn't a disaster, but there was a really high potential for disaster, and it really. So I like guns. I like to shoot, and that's not something, like, I was interested in it when I was a kid, but I was also like terrified of loud noises and stuff. So it's something that I ended up getting into later in life. And I remember early on, as I was kind of making friends who had guns and stuff like that. I was camping with this fellow and his son, and his son was saying to just, it was pitch black. I was in an area where I was completely unfamiliar with anything, and the kid was like, just, shoot at the ground. And I'm like, I can't see anything. And one of the big aspects of gun safety is that you don't, not only do you not shoot anything when you aren't sure of your target and what lies beyond it, you don't even put your finger on the trigger. You don't even cover the muzzle over something you're not willing to destroy. So, but I ended up getting pressured into shooting into pitch black, and I didn't know, I knew we were in woods. I knew we were not in a residential area, but I had no idea what was out there. And it's something like, this was 15 years ago, and it still eats me up today that I let myself be pushed to do that. And I really, like, I regret not standing up and being like, no, that's not the kind of person I am. And but on a bigger far more depressing, requiring far more work kind of level, I flat out refused to learn what I wanted to do with my life until now in my early 40s. And I am paying the price, because I spent a lot of time doing shit that didn't really matter to me, because I felt like this was the thing that I had to do. And it was just a whole lot of bullshit. And so we're getting past that now.
Does anyone, Rachel, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. I couldn't think of any specific disaster, but I guess a little bit like what Jamie said at the end about not doing things with my life for far too long that I wish I hadn't. I mean, I don't regret it in the sense, I don't blame myself. I don't think I could have known any better at the time, but I got a degree that now I don't use because I didn't like it. And I listened to other people telling me what to do with my life, and I wish I didn't. Yeah, things like that.
Is it Ashley, Nina? I don't know if Ashley already answered. Ashley, you want to jump in?
I'm trying to think of like a disaster that happened, from that. Listening to FI, I don't really know that there was like necessarily a disaster that happened specifically, but I will say, not knowing my FI, I'm 33. It's not like I'm like old or anything, but I do feel like it's been very, like, I've had kind of a difficult road, like building for a lot of reasons, personality wise. But I think FI, especially second, like as an ENFP, like I should have been able to really build something by now. But I just also didn't take the time when I was younger to really allow myself to do what I loved. So like the business side of myself was like, well, it makes practical sense to go to school and switch from a music major to a business major because there's no money to be made being a musician, especially going to SDSU in South Dakota. Like that's not like a music school where you like make money when you graduate, unless you're going to be a teacher. And I knew I didn't want that. I was going to like go down. I really wanted to go down and waitress. I didn't even want to go to school. I wanted to go down south, probably Tennessee, and I wanted to waitress and maybe sing. And I was talked out of that by someone close to me. And I'm okay with the way that my life turned out anyway. But as a result of that, I'm kind of down like a path that now has to do with my FI, because like I had kids, and because of my experience growing up and just the turmoil in my family, like I just knew that being a mom, that I was going to do better because that's in my FI. So I am doing something within my FI now, like after having kids and reflecting on that and making the decisions that I've made in parenting. But yeah, my life maybe could have been a little more different, and I could have built something that I really loved and was passionate about if I would have allowed myself to follow my FI. But like I said, I'm okay. I'm at peace with where I'm at, but I would definitely say there was a, you know, a crossroads there that could have been different had I listened to my heart.
All right, Nina, last one.
I'm still really struggling to think of an event that fits the prompt. I think part of that is because I don't really do a lot. Sorry, lost my train of thought. I think another reason, aside from the whole blast last thing, is that I'm pretty afraid of the pain in my FI. So I do a lot to avoid pain. So a lot of times it can, I don't know, sometimes it feels like it's a savior or something, just with how beholden I am to it, where I just have to follow the chemicals.
That's what I was. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
I was going to say I had more words, but I lost them. So go ahead.
Oh, that's what I was thinking here, and a lot of people say they've avoided it. It seems, particularly with the demon FI, the alert system of risk before the event happens is so strong that there is an element of self-preservation, avoidance, whatever, and so the disaster doesn't eventuate as reliably.
Yep, that's kind of my story. Avoiding pain and not much happening. And avoiding blast and putting myself out there and not much happening. So
I've learned though from avoiding pain, because I did ignore my FI and avoid pain, but there was no happiness, true happiness. There was no super low, but it meant there was nothing that was high. Yeah.
I think just hearing you guys talk about that FI and pain stuff, I think I forgot how old I was. I think I was like 28 or something when I discovered it. But like I got a high off the pain from FI. Like I wanted like to get my feelings hurt on purpose, because like I felt like the more someone hurt my feelings, the more I can be myself. I don't know, it's weird. Like when your FI gets triggered, suddenly now you can do stuff like for yourself, either because you're pissed
That make
off.
you feel powerful. That masculine.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's like, yeah, like because you know,
Powerful.
someone hurt your feelings, for example. Now you're pissed off, right? Or you're hurt, your butt hurt. Either way, you're gonna do something about it. You know, you're either gonna lash out at the person, which is good because then you get your FI, your emotion, your bad emotions out. Or if you're butt hurt, you're gonna be like, maybe I should do something about it and like, you know, improve myself, right? So,
are you MFI?
Sorry.
Are you masculine FI?
Yeah, right. It's different though. It's masculine FI, right? And I'm double masculine sleep also. So my inner world's double masculine. So I'm like, yeah, like hurt me, give it to me, you know, like it's it became like an addiction almost. Like even right now, I'm like, you know, I'm always looking for like an extreme experience where I can get butt hurt. Or like the more scared I am, the better. Like if my heart's pounding, I'm like, yes, I'm in the right path. If I'm not feeling anything, I know I'm like doing something wrong. If I'm comfortable, something's wrong. Like
that's like.
So you want a roasting?
What's that?
You're actively seeking a roasting.
Not quite a roasting, because when you get roasted, it's kind of fun and funny, so it's not the same. But I want someone to like hurt me. Like for example, I got a job in fitness. I was my first year working in fitness back when I was like 28, 29. When I was doing like a sales consultation, like to people, I want them to tell me, no, I don't want to hire you. Like I wanted them to like hurt me, like tell me straight up, no, I don't want to hire you. Like and that tells me it's like, you know, because I want them to hit me hard where it hurts, right? So and then I don't know, I got like addictive, you know, and then like over the years it's like it became like a motivator. Like the more pain I took, like the stronger I got, it's weird. I know it's weird, but it's like going to the gym, right? Like when you work out and stuff, you hurt your muscle and then it becomes stronger, like, so like next time you go back to the gym, you can lift heavier, right? And like I work in the fitness industry, so like then that's kind of how I see it too, right? Now I'm working as a recruiter now, so I recruit people, right? But it's still the same deal. Like if I talk to rude people, I'm like, great, fantastic, because like my day could have been boring, but someone was rude to me. I'm like, great, fantastic, and I have stories to tell to people, stories to tell my coworkers and stuff. It's great. So I don't see negative emotion as a bad thing. I see it kind of like as a positive. I know it sounds kind of crazy and kind of messed up. But...
No, you know what? So I went through this thing, and I think it was like my because I've got the double feminine sleep. And it was interesting to me that you were saying that you were looking for like other people to give you like the negative chemicals. Like I would give myself the negative chemicals. Like I would sit and like play a game with myself to be like, what's going to make me cry the hardest? So like,
yeah, I'd also rather kick my own butt.
Yeah. And then I knew what was wrong. And but now I have got an idea. Maybe I need to go out and make people like play that game and be like, reject me.
Yeah, come on, give it to me.
I don't know if I could do it. I mean, I did door-to-door sales and that was fine, and I cried like the first couple months, but then I got used to it, so it was fine. But I don't know if I want to like seek out people hurting my feelings, because like I want people to like me. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, I asked a guy out once and he rejected me, and it was like, I'm never doing that again.
I think it's.
What are you talking about? It's a numbers game, baby.
Yeah, it is a numbers game. True. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like what Ashley said. Like you get used to it, so it's kind of like for me, like when it stops hurting, I'm like, oh, great. Like I mean, it's good because like obviously I'm getting the result now. Like it doesn't bother me anymore. Like and I'm not playing the avoidance game anymore. But like it's also bad because I don't get the high from it anymore. So it's yeah. So I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Anyways, someone else.
How do you go with comments to the Facebook channel? Do you get a lot of? Do you get any trolling or negative comments that you perhaps still have a reaction to?
I do, but I'm kind of used to it now. So it's kind of it doesn't hit me as hard as like the first and second year I was doing this. So it's kind of like like I mean I got major tribe hate earlier this year back in like I think it was May. Like the whole tribe kind of like was trying to cancel me and stuff. And then I mean I'm like great, like this is like I need this kind of like this pressure, but the problem is I'm a double decider, so it's like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't long before it got fixed. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to find something else. But like, so I mean, anyways, I just sound crazy now. So let's go to the next person. Okay, did everyone answer the question already? Okay, Ashley, you got the last question, so go for it.
Man, I feel like the questions I was thinking about kind of got answered. But play savior. I can think of something on the spot, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to FI, one thing that has kind of been rolling around in my head, I love this video. I really wanted to like mention it here. Like Joyce has a video where she was talking to an INFP about introverted functions versus extroverted functions. The gentleman was like brilliant in just this small little packaging of, extroverted functions are all about more is more. Introverted functions are all about less is better, right? Like less is more is more. Just saying, your introverted functions really want to like keep things kind of packaged nicely. Like, so for example, SI, because I have SI and I have FI, so I'll be able to explain those better. SI is more about like, let me just have these few things that are like really beautiful. For example, I'm an FM. So like this table, I'm going to make sure that I do the painting and the refinishing and the refurbishing, and I'm just going to make it this like beautiful, glorious table. Where SE is maybe not that they wouldn't do that, but they're not as particular picky about the sensory. It's like less is more. And that's definitely true for me. even though I'm consumed. I'll get rid of stuff, you know, if it doesn't FI matter to me, and if it isn't like the way I specifically envision it, SI wise. So for FI, like giving you that context. So for FI, you know, how do you sift through your friend group, or, talking about, Alan was saying, he's like, of course his family is his people. He's not going to go just like die for anybody. And I certainly will not either, but I do think that, well, maybe there was a chance, like if there was I don't know, but certainly not anything I could think of. So how are you putting people into your FI? It's a really long way to explain. How are you putting people into that FI? How are you being choosy? What's the criteria? Are you doing that consciously, or are you doing that subconsciously? That's kind of where my brain is going right now.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'll get someone to answer this, but I do rank people in my head. I have a rank. So yeah. Anyways, go ahead. So, who wants to answer this first?
I don't have so much as a rank. It's a good, bad. It's either, I classify people as either good or bad, and it's almost no in between.
That sounds like a decider thing.
But like, how are you classifying good and bad? Like what is helping you to make sure that the people within your FI circle, because I think it's very important, and maybe this is just a topic for discussion, just like a food for thought. Maybe you're not there, like it hasn't occurred, but like, it's very important, I think, when you have FI, to be very picky about who your core group is. Like, what is that criteria for you? And you don't have to be specific in that you have to be like, oh, it's, really detailed, but like, does it have to be the same value system or political beliefs or whatever?
Can we get Rachel to answer this first? Because Rachel is double activated sleep. So she probably thought about this a lot. So go for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the problem with me is I don't eat. And besides my family, I have like one really good friend, and I met her when I was 6. So I would say 2 good friends, but the other one is my sister-in-law. So she also counts as family, I guess. And I've been realizing the lack of that, and I need to, no, wait, I have 3 friends. I forgot about one, but she lives on the other side of the country, and Canada is really big. So that's really far away, and she's terrible at contacting people ever. So anyway, but I need to change that. I have been realizing that more and more. I need to be a bit better socially. And I'm going to do things to work on that. COVID made it difficult, but that is dying down a little bit now. I would say though, the people that pop out to me as potential friends are ones I can have good conversations with, basically, and that's pretty rare for one reason or another. I don't know, maybe it's my fault. But there's a few people, it tends to happen that I'll like talk to them for 5 minutes and then we'll just click and we can just talk for hours, or it never happens.
Yeah. No, my phone is shutting down.
Was that Jamie who said that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's having things problems. I mean, honestly, IJ. So okay. So I guess Rachel, it's more like a play problem. Let's
yeah.
Let's go with Erin next. So do you want to approach this after Ashley kind of narrowed down the question a little bit more when it comes to people that's already in your FI?
You're asking about like the specific qualities that we're looking for in those people, because I would put like my family automatically, in that classification. And then when it comes to people, maybe it's my age, I don't know, but it's the people that I can count on. It's more of like a loyalty kind of thing. I already know who those people are that I can trust and count on, to be there for me. I guess I've been through enough in my life to see, and so it's really from
it's like you're all good or all bad for me, and it's directly correlated to, you know, did you do something terrible, I guess, or not, or are you reliable, you know? So pretty simple.
Your answer is interesting because I've spoken to other ESFP jumpers, and you guys, it's weird. A lot of ESFPs have this like black and white thinking also with people. I don't know why, like the jumpers specifically. So it's kind
I
of
see it and I know it's bad, you know, because I when I have to move people, move categories, like I do, I just put you in the other category,
right.
and then I'm totally different to you. It is not it's not necessary, it's not something I'm proud of. I'm kind of fascinated by the way I do it, and yeah.
Well, you know, you're play blast, you probably know a lot of people, so you have more room to categorize people. What about you, Alan?
Yeah, interesting question. And I wouldn't classify family as a guaranteed immediate connection to heart. In fact, I've actually, I don't talk to my parents anymore at all. And I initiated that. But what I would say is, even though my family, my immediate families and kids, wife, a couple of close friends are in that immediate inner circle of people who I've been extremely vulnerable with, I don't define it because of family. What I define it as people that I've shared meaningful experiences with, either intentionally or indirectly. And through that shared experience becomes a bonding of FI. So there's literally a handful of people I know of that fall within that realm, and have stood through a test of time. Then in regards to who I choose to share FI with, I've been pushing myself a lot in the past 3-4 years to be more openly vulnerable. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to be corny, but the next layer in some ways is almost anybody, everyone. Because I know that people, like I said, there's a mentality of people I've conditioned myself to be more appreciative that people aren't malicious. Everyone's trying to do good. And so there is no vulnerability exposed by sharing FI. So there is a huge difference between the things I share with people at work or people I first meet today versus what I'd ever have done a couple of years ago. It's actually part of why I know Ashley said she didn't submit her typing video on the Facebook group, but it's precisely why I shared mine, because it was something that I was completely dreading. For me, part of it was probably because I had this notion that I was more important than what I am. And the process of sharing, being more perceived vulnerable, kind of led me to appreciate more that I'm not saying I'm not significant, but once again, everyone's equal. Everyone has some sort of impact on others. But in regards to a tiered system, I suppose the FI is compartmentalized in the sense of people that I interface with on a regular basis. There is a degree of FI I'm willing to openly share, a degree of FI that I will never share, and a degree of FI that I'll share if the circumstance naturally arises for it to come into conversation. I guess I don't like to interweave my FI to brag about myself. Hopefully that addresses your question. I can't really think of much more to add.
Well, I'm glad that you put your type out in the group, because you were like the first EJ I've ever interviewed. So, you know, and there's like a big desert after you, because like, you know, a lot of EJs won't do it. And even right now, there's not a lot of EJs, you know, that's doing that. So, you know, if anything, you're doing something different from your clan, essentially, your EJ clan. And Nina, you want to go next?
Could we repeat the question?
The question was essentially, how are you
Right. How do you
narrowing down your FI group?
Yeah, sorry. Just to warn you, I'm clearly getting more dazed, and so I'm gonna be worse at talking. And will probably continue to get that way. So sorry. But yeah, I've been thinking about it this whole time, and I'm having trouble narrowing it down to just like one process. So like when I was a kid, I do have vivid memories of making lists of like my friends in order. Nowadays I don't do that. I think I don't know, I still have I guess a degree of hierarchy, and it's kind of like synesthetic, like I have it like visual spatially laid out in my brain in a sense, because it's not just a straight line. It's like partner and best friend are like next to each other, right next to me, but like there's also like you know like mom is a different category because like she's not my closest relationship, but she's also like a core part of my life. And I don't know, see, like a lot of stuff is just based on circumstance, and I guess like a degree of a range of enjoyment to tolerability. I'm not going to keep someone around if I find them intolerable or especially toxic. I definitely have never been a person who believes that family is like an inherently, like the blood is an inherently bonding thing. I wished from a very young age for my parents to get divorced, and I no longer talk to my dad by my choice because he's toxic. And then I don't know, it really just kind of depends on the person. Like I do have, as I think I alluded to before, like a very strong like political feelings and affiliation, and that does influence a lot of where I draw the lines. But I've also, especially since getting into ops, I've done like a lot of double deciding in that realm. I have a friend who is a moderate. It's like, and I don't know, I had to do some double deciding on Dave and Shan, and it's been a whole process. So like I'm no longer like instantly hostile to people who don't match my political views. And I feel like I'm just generally getting less discriminatory. Like when I was younger, I was very aware of like the vibes and stuff, like whether I vibed with someone. And now it's like a lot of who I end up keeping around is more based on like, circumstance and stuff. But there is also like, if someone is around a lot and I don't fully trust them, or they are toxic or whatever, I still like keep them at a distance. So I don't know. Basically, it varies a lot. It is largely unconscious because I had to think about this to have any semblance of an answer. And it depends. I hope that was some sort of useful or relevant.
I feel so bad. Yeah, I didn't mean that all family. I don't talk to my mom at all, so she's not even my family. So I wasn't even thinking about like, I'm not saying automatically family. Absolutely not. Toxic.
Oh, I get you. I didn't assume.
Yeah. And John, not John. Alan said something too. So sorry.
Yeah. It seems like with FI, family is not a necessary prerequisite for you to maintain a relationship with, because like me and my mom had so many falling outs before, right? I wouldn't talk to her for like 3 to 5 years in between, so but it seems like with people with FE, like that's like a mandatory prerequisite, and they refuse to break that bond, just because you're a blood relative, which I think is kind of silly. I mean, maybe you cut your family more slack, but if they're toxic, then obviously you want to separate yourself from them or put them in a distance. So anyways, guys, last question before we wrap up this interview. Okay, this is the last one and we're done. I was thinking about this a lot, so I think this one is super interesting. So half of you guys are ENFP, ISTJ, and ESTJ, right? And then the other half is ENTJ, ESFP, and INTJ. So there is a big difference with those two groups. And the big difference that I would like to address and actually ask you guys a question about is basically your true self is your sleep animal. Okay. It's your sleep animal. And but as you know, consume is what you use to kind of project to the external world, except for maybe if you consume last or something. But you know, you can answer this however you want to answer this. But the way I see it, for example, for ESFPs, a lot of ESFPs have lead SF consume. So that means people perceive you as cool, you know, or popular or trendy or whatever, right? But then a lot of ESFPs deep down inside, they want to be NF because that's what your true self is, right? NF, it's like, you know, with INTJs as well. And that means, you know, you get the big picture, you know, what's the point? Like you're not shallow, you know, you're a deep person that has thought things out in a deep level, you know. So being called shallow would hurt essentially if you're like NF sleep. But then a lot of people with that quadrant, they might put, because the outside world is consumed, so that might be your external projection. It's like cool or smart if you're NT above SF or whatever, right? But really what you want to be is someone that is deep, you know, not shallow, right? The opposite of that. And then on the opposite side of things with like the ESTJ, ENFP, and ISTJ, you have NF consume, or in Jamie's case, ST blast is above that. So maybe for Jamie, the external projection to the tribe is you're a doer, maybe for Jamie. Or like if you have consume first, then you might be like, you know, you're someone that's altruistic, right? NF, you know, you're altruistic, you're trying to make the world a better place, right? But deep down inside, you're really SF. So there's like a part of you that's shallow, you know, like you just want to be cool and popular, or you know, you just want to be someone that is seen as someone that's like really emotionally aware, you know, or something like that. So what I'm trying to get at here is what you use with your extroverted animal is how you are perceived outwardly, and maybe that's not really how you want to feel respected or acknowledged. You want to be acknowledged for your sleep animal, but maybe that's not happening because you're not using it as the main thing that you put out there. Because if you do put your sleep animal first, it hurts, you know. So I kind of want to hear you guys' take on that from your own personal experience, where you did crave to be recognized or acknowledged or to be seen based on your sleep animal, but instead you got something else because you were using your play or your blast or consume instead, you know. And then now you have like, you feel unfulfilled or you feel like something's missing, but really it's your fault because you didn't put out that sleep animal first, you know. So I know that's a loaded question, but does anyone want to tackle this first? And then this is the final question and we'll wrap up the interview. Yeah. Anyone want to take this first? And if you want some examples, let me know. I have some examples from like other people and stuff.
I would like examples.
Okay.
Ew.
Okay, so I want to use Mr. Beast as an example, like the YouTuber Mr. Beast. So he's a consume, sleep, blast, play, ENFP, right? And if you look at his YouTube channel, what is he doing? He's giving away money to everyone, free money, yay, you know, like contests, like. And then so from the outside perspective, he's being seen as someone that's doing philanthropy work. He's seen as someone that is kind, seen as someone that's altruistic, you know, he's being like good to other people. But if you look at his sleep animal, what he really wants is to be popular. And you can see that like he almost has the most YouTube subscribers out of like everybody except for PewDiePie, right? He's gonna overtake him soon. So like he's one example of someone's like, okay, the external image, because he's consumed first, is NF, which is altruism, you know. But really the desire is popularity, you know. So, you know, it's kind of like the what's the word I'm looking for? It's a cognitive dissonance, or like the outside is not aligned with the inside, you know. Does anyone want to jump in? Rachel?
Sorry, I just want to clarify. So like my sleep is NI-FI.
Right.
So it would be NF.
Right.
So you're saying that maybe my true desire of how I want to be seen is NF.
Mm-hmm.
but I end up being seen as
NT.
NT.
Right.
Right. Okay. I need to think about it.
So you're not really seen for your true self, because really your true inner self is NF, you know, and everyone here that is in that quadra has NF inside, right? So Alan might be seen as a doer, being lead ST play, same as Aaron, right? But deep down inside, you guys are all NF, so you want to be seen as deep, someone that has a lot of wisdom, maybe some thoughts on, you know, how life really works, you know, some kind of deep knowledge on the truth about, like, you know, Jim Carrey is the example they use a lot in the class, where he discovered his NF sleep, and now he's going all in at NF sleep. You know, like one of the things that he said recently is like, he doesn't need to act anymore. Like, he is enough. You know, he's enough, which is kind of huge, right? Like, what do you mean you're enough? It's like, I'm enough. I can just paint all day. I'm good. You know, but for Nina, Ashley, and Jamie, you guys are in the same quadra, right? Like the same as me too. So your inner world is SF. So there is like a part of you, whether you want to admit it or not, that wants to be popular, wants to be cool, wants to be, you know, but for you specifically, not because you're copying anyone else, but like something that you did creatively, perhaps, or just something about your personality, you know, specifically. So but maybe you guys are not projecting that sleep outwardly. You're using, you know, for Ashley and Nina, you guys are using your NT first, and then Jamie's using her ST first. And that's how you're acknowledged, that's how you're perceived, but that's not who you really are inside, you know? So then there's like a disconnect from the inside and the outside. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so this is really strange because I feel like I do project like an SF.
You do, yeah, you do. You're different. So,
yeah. Vibe.
yeah, you do.
And I again, I think it was for survival purposes. Just because of moving around a lot, like I had to learn to tap into that right away. I do have. It's interesting because I do care about what other people think. I think there's a lot of ENFPs, especially if they're Savior FI, that actually truly don't care what other people think.
Right.
But I'm not Savior FI, and also I'm TE Savior, and it's TE child position. So I like care what other people think, and I don't necessarily, if I do want to be well liked. But you're right. It's for the right reasons. I want to be well liked because of my FI, right? Like it's the FI that I want people to accept. It's not the TE. It's not the NE, because that's not as personal to me. Like I want people to like me because of what my heart is. And
right.
That's why it's so hard to share, because you're right. Like at the end of the day, that's who I am. Like my FI, my SIFI, like all the things in the past that have like built my FI
right.
is who I am. And to share that and then be rejected by that, because I really do care about what other people think of me, is very scary. So, but at the same time, I think that's where I just have to do the whole, like, if I'm going to double decide, I should double decide for myself too. Like one, and actually a TENE gave me this, an FM TENE gave me this like amazing advice just recently that I'm going to do. And she said, you need to look at yourself from the outside, and you need to use your double deciding skills to double decide on who you are, to give yourself grace, and to realize like you are cool and you are doing, you know, good things. You are, you know, you are showing your FI. She's like, you think that you're not, but you're giving it in little bits and pieces. You're kind of doing like little breadcrumbs. And she's like, just look at it from the outside. So yes, you're right. There is that element. And I have to accept that piece of myself, I think.
All right. Awesome. Jamie, you want to go next? You have the same SIFI.
Yeah. No, so I don't know. I wear, I wear different hats throughout the day. And this is the way that other people perceive me is kind of weird. Like, depending who you ask, I'm either an extreme introvert or an extreme extrovert. And and I think part of that is because my point of balance is actually my double deciding is I've got my double feminine SF sleep second, and then I've got double masculine NT play third. So, I mean, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah, that's true.
And this is just a normal back and forth for me, but it's situationally based. So, so what one person, if I'm around a bunch of introverts, they are going to see that double masculine NT play come out. They are. I'm going to be blasting and playing, and I'm going to look like a complete psychopath. And conversely, if I'm around a whole bunch of big extroverts, I am going to hole up in my SF sleep. and it's super weird, like, because I think Dave and Chan have kind of mentioned that SF sleep kind of gets sexualized a lot. So there's like, I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten the sexy librarian comment, which actually pisses me off so bad. And it pisses me off because I used to be a bookseller. And it's not that I hate librarians, but there is this like a disconnect kind of. I am not a librarian. I know how to make money. So it's like, it's just, yeah, it's one of those kind of funky things where I try not to let it upset me too much, because I have kind of tried to embrace, since I've got that secondary EJ thing going, I've tried to embrace becoming an EJ in the woods kind of thing. And so I spend a lot of time by myself and setting that kind of introverted space. And I think I need that actually to really get my identity side shored up. But yeah, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you do look like a librarian, but little did you know you're consuming.
I know I look like I literally know I look like it, but I'm no.
Yeah. Does Rachel, Erin, or Alan want to jump in from the other end with the NF sleep? Rachel, you want to go first? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I'm getting a little more days too. This is it's been a long time.
Yeah, we're almost
I
done.
did actually have thoughts though, so let me just get them back.
It's the lead sleep rubbing eyes.
Yeah. I feel like maybe because I'm missing play or something, but people don't, the NF, not just the NF part of me, but the NT part of me too. Of the various people that have typed me, one of my students was dead sure I was an ENFP. And I think because, like Jamie, it's a different hat thing. Like when I was teaching her, I put on my ENFP hat. And I was a lot more extroverted and ENFP-ish. And I had a spiritual direction. So it's only really the people that know me really well, like my family and such, that actually think I'm an INTJ. And I don't come across that way super often. So I'm actually, except in cases like this, I think I might be more myself in some weird way with people I don't know at all on the internet. So I'm pretty happy when people see me as an NT. It does feel a bit validating. I'm like, you're actually seeing me instead of one of my hats. And so in that sense, sometimes people thinking I'm an NF isn't as pleasant for me.
I relate to that.
Interesting. So I wonder if it's a demon thing then, but anyways, yeah. What about you, Alan?
I mean, I heard the question. I've heard the words, the meaning. I'm still kind of
processing through. I mean, I understand the literal idea of it, but I don't think that's really where it's going. But I suppose the people I interface the most with would be people at work. And yeah, I would, if I had a guess at how they would describe me based on the type of things they come to me for assistance with or to support, it would definitely be the ST side, clarity, get shit done, crisis, all that type of stuff. But then my core network of people also describe me as a philosopher. So I suppose that is the buzzword that leads into the NF space. I definitely find myself speculating and inquisitive a lot more about the intention behind a lot of things. And I don't really have NF conversations with that many people. I find the depth that I'm trying to hit, I haven't really found people that want to match that depth. I'm not saying that I'm diving deeper, just whatever depth I'm diving to, they're not the same. It's either higher or lower. So to find a conversation at the level I'm chasing, very, very challenging, which has kind of led me to hermitize more and more as I'm getting older. But I think ultimately the basis of your question was along the lines of what do you want to be known as? I think it would actually still be the blast, or sleep manifested as blast. Because sleep by itself, what does it do? So that's my answer.
So you want to be able to communicate your philosophy then, like kind of like the philosopher image is still something that appeals to you at the end of the day, but in a form that you can blast it to people.
Well, not blasted in the sense of be an advocate or a missionary equivalent or whatever. It's right. Is the intention behind it. So I've experienced whatever I have. I've taken it into some sort of universal meaning to apply to some sort of outcome. If it's not practiced in real life, then what is it? It's a circulating thought. That's how I look at it a lot. Even with this self-development stuff, there's a lot of people that ultimately you have to live it. And so that's where I'm at. Am I known for that? I don't think so, but I haven't really asked anyone either. So
right.
And it's not. This is one of those things where, yeah, okay. On one hand, I say to increase my relationship with FI, I have to answer the question for myself. But I think having a closed loop feedback about this specific question is a flaw. I think external feedback is very important because ultimately you're not. The product that you're putting out is not just a reflection of what you want. It has to be a balanced reflection of the T and FI. So you do need both components. It has to be an open feedback.
Gotcha. What about you, Erin?
I don't think I've developed enough in my journey to really be able to answer that, because I typed myself as NF, which is my sleep. And I see that now, masculine sleep. And so I'm still kind of baffled that that's not how I am on the outside.
Right.
Although I see that I am completely ST on the outside, I'm just still kind of, I guess, observing how that works and understanding. I got my type in May this year. So understanding, I'm so different because the NF is very intense in IFI sleep. And I agree with Alan about, you know, the blast. I think people perceive me as more of my blast because that's what I do. I do blast a lot. So I kind of don't have a lot of control over it, you know, right now. So learning about it.
Yeah. Well, you're a rare type, consume last ESFP. That's a weird one. So
I feel like a weird one. So yeah.
yeah, that is a weird one. Okay, last one is Nina, and then we'll wrap this up. So go for it, Nina.
Well, at first, I mean, I was and am totally ready to go off about the SF, but also when Alan mentioned wanting to be seen for blast, I relate to that as well. I guess it kind of ties into, like Rachel said, how it's validating to be seen as the NT. I really want to be seen as the T. I really want to be and subsequently be seen as the person who makes things happen, because I want to make things happen so badly, because things need to happen. I'm seeing all the possibilities. I'm seeing the T, like what needs to be fixed. It's my brain is in like fix it, criticizing mode, problem solving mode, all that stuff 24/7, and I can't externalize it, and it's infuriating. So I would love to be ST Blast. That said, I definitely relate to the desire to be seen as SF as well, in I guess kind of a different way than I desperately crave ST. I've always been into fashion ever since I was young. Nowadays, I have a Pinterest board, or I have several Pinterest boards, all secret, because it's the introverted baby functions. And I haven't finished narrowing down yet, so nobody can see it. I can't blast it externally until it's perfect. But I'm constantly like tracking. Basically, I'm just saving stuff that I vibe with and that I want, that I'm intrigued by, and I'm constantly trying to like hone it. I want to find my personal style like once and for all. In theory, I want to find the ultimate, like the one hairstyle that works for me, and the one hair color that I like having, and the one fashion style that I'm comfortable in. You wouldn't know it by looking at what I do every day. I'm just skimming along. But I spend a lot of time thinking about it. Mostly it happens in phases. I'll go through phases where my default activity is just like browsing on Pinterest, saving outfits and stuff. So yeah, and I do sometimes feel a little shallow for that. But I don't know. I think I am familiar with David Kibbe. Sorry, I don't know if y'all can see the chat. But Jamie suggested David Kibbe. I'm not so much a Kibbe fan. I'm actually a fan of like a system that's it's more face-based. It's like less about like your body shape, and it's more about like the lines and stuff in your face. And I've seen like that's another thing that I've seen like weirdly in reality. It's like ops, and then that system, it's like, why do people treat me differently when I have short hair? Really weird. Anyway, so yeah, I like the SF categorizing systems. I like to NT the SF in that sense as well. I think I've been blabbering on for long enough. This is what it looks like when a Blast Lax actually talks, I guess.
Blast last with channel changing.
Yep.
I'm just curious, what's the name of the face-based one you were talking about?
Truth is Beauty.
Seems vaguely familiar.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone is as aware or bothered by this as I am, but beware of aggressive gendered language on that site. But the theory I find very valuable.
Gotcha.
Nice.
All right, guys. We'll wrap it up here. So thanks for coming out and sharing your FI and stuff. I know this took a lot longer than I thought it would be. Like I thought it was gonna be 2 hours, but we went to 3. But it's okay. There's a lot of FI venting that needed to happen, so I guess it had to happen. So thanks again, guys, for sharing your FI. I know it wasn't easy, but I really appreciate it. So see you guys around Facebook and whatnot, and take care.
Thanks, Kendrick.